I'm going to come to a question of multitasking soon, Mrs. O, right? But walking is crucial. And I'll tell you how. Let me read something to us about how walking affects our intellectual wellness, right? It boosts blood flow to the brain. In other words, carries oxygen. Walking increases blood flow and oxygenation to the brain, which can improve focus, concentration, and mental clarity. It stimulates neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the whole phenomenon behind the older you get, the potential for your brain to continue to function effectively the older you get. In other words, your brain is able to recalibrate itself, to function optimally. So walking also stimulates neuroplasticity. It reduces stress and anxiety. And if we do not already know, and I'm sure we do, stress and anxiety have a very strong relationship with your ability to think effectively. Chronic stress, particularly. In other words, you're always stressed. And one of the things that Mrs. O has said already is about taking thinking time. In other words, taking time to just be quiet with yourself, right? And I'm sure many of us have probably heard about doing breathing exercises and meditation and all of that. Maybe that's something we'll come to later, right? Walking increases creativity. It stimulates, more like it stimulates creativity and inspires new ideas. That's what you just said, Mrs. O, that things just drop, isn't it, right? It improves your mental health, it enhances your problem-solving skills, it supports cognitive development, and we can go on and on. Funny enough, just before we came into this session, I saw a video posted on a group I'm on, where they said, where the guy was saying how effective walking is. 30 minutes a day, 3 to 5 times a week. Your life will never be the same. Let me leave it like that. That's my own way of finishing it off.
And as you're saying this, let me tell you, I took time off recently. I'd overworked, to be honest, and I took 4 days off, 4 days that I desperately needed. And at the spa that I went to, you won't believe, I bought 3 books on walking. You won't believe the books on walking. Oh, wow. And one of them that I'm reading says 52 ways to walk.
Oh, so there's wow.
a way to walk for every single week of the year, from walking Absolutely. In the rain, to knowing how to walk in silence, to walking with, it's amazing just reading the different methods, ways of, So walking is serious business.
And that's very interesting, because that reminded me of something also that I learned some time ago, which is that this walking is not just that you're just outside, you're walking and you're thinking about all your problems. This walking is you are present in the moment. So you're walking and you're taking in your environment. If all you have around you is a lot of noise, cars making noise and all of that, it may not be as effective. You may need to, we don't have parks and gardens in Nigeria, but I am sure that we can all find somewhere that is not noisy, that we can take walks in from time to time. And if you cannot walk outside, there's some YouTube opportunity, videos about walking at home and things like that helps to do the same. It may not be as effective because you're not exposed to natural air, because ventilation is also crucial, right? Ventilation is also crucial. So it may not be as effective, but it is good. Right. So when I can't walk outside, maybe it's raining or something like that, I turn on those videos and I do my walk inside. Right. So it's important to keep that in mind. Now, let's talk about multitasking a little bit. I have some recent views, maybe not too recent, but about multitasking. But what do you think, Mrs. O, about multitasking?
What do I? Say that again.
What do you think? What do you think about it? I don't want to put any words in your mouth, so I'm going to ask the question.
What do I think about multitasking? Look, I confess, multitasking is what I do on a daily basis. So when you ask me that question, I'm not quite sure the answer that you are expecting, because I can't even begin to express the different. Don't let me. Oh, have you had this situation? Oh God, it happened at the beginning of the lockdown. And you know how you sort of enter like a webinar like this, some of you, and you just, you know, slide into the webinar quietly, thinking nobody has noticed you. And then just as you are doing something that you know that is very private, they call you and say, we would like to invite Alero Ayida October to just say a few words on, and I'm thinking, what? A few words on what? You must be joking. Yet I don't know that it has happened to you before. You don't want to know what I was doing. And so I had to put my best, look, I had to look very professional, very serious. I put on my best voice. And so multitasking is something that I think you get better with. And it's something you have to learn, to be honest. On a more serious note, if you're going to be an effective leader, you have to know how to multitask. You cannot be single. It can't be a single story. It can't be you do finish one thing and then you complete it and then you go to the next thing. You've got to learn how to juggle many balls in the air. Now, when I had as a mother, as a wife, you learn how to be able to cook, look after the children, show up at the next meeting you've read your board papers. If you are on a board and you have several board papers, you have to make time to read those papers. And what I've learned to do, and I know that people who are very healthy are not going to be happy to hear this, but I do not sleep the 8 hours that they say is very good for you.
You do not do what?
I don't sleep the number of hours that you've been advised to sleep. So I don't think the health specialists will be happy to hear that. But I maximize my hours, my waking hours, my sleeping that I'm meant to be sleeping. I have learned how to nap, and a 15-minute nap is like 2 hours sleep for me. You understand? Yes. Mm-hmm. So in multitasking, it's learning how not to be stressed, to do it with grace, to be very professional about it, and what I would say to be other-centered. So to multitask effectively, you've got to have the desire to help others has to be something that is paramount. You won't want to inconvenience yourself if you don't care about other people. Mm-hmm. So I want to take multitasking from just saying the tasks that you do, you know, as a wife, a mother, as a professional, for example. But because of your other-centeredness, you're willing to go the extra mile. You're willing to inconvenience yourself. You're willing to please others because they deserve to be pleased. They deserve to be honored. They deserve to be served. I think that, for me, is what drives my desire to multitask and to be effective at it because of service to others. I hope I'm making sense. Yep, when I was younger, it was more for this task have to be done. But as I've grown older, there are many tasks that I do that do not have to be done. Mm-hmm. Other people can do them. I can delegate. I can ask others. But what I have done is that I have chosen to go, like, if I can get a bit spiritual, to go after the one and leave the 99. And to always want to go after the one means that you want to serve. And if you want to serve, it's not always convenient. So my multitasking experience is now, as I've grown older, from the place of service. How can I make a difference in people's lives and the individuals' lives and the nation's life, which is why I do SVPG. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be a bit contrarian. Right now, I think something you said towards the end kind of like balanced it out for me, and I'll explain what I mean.
Tell me.
I'd always prided myself in the ability to multitask. You know, I have, even right now as we speak, I have 1,000,001 things going. And I'm like, gosh, I have to do that one, I have to do that, and you know, and and I came to the conclusion that no, I'm gonna have to prioritize certain things. And I'll tell you what I mean. from a research perspective, women, by virtue of the amount of oxytocin we have in our brain, one of them brain chemicals, right, have a propensity to multitask more than men. But even culturally and socially, you're dealing with the kids, like you said, you're dealing with the workplace, you're taking care of the house, you're doing all of that, and you have to try to balance all of that, right? So that's from a cultural perspective. However, what I find is that multitasking works for certain kinds of responsibilities, and it doesn't work. And that's why I said something you said at the end, balanced it out for me. If we're doing, there are three different categories that I'm going to describe. If we're doing repetitive tasks, multitasking is fine because we're simply rinse, repeat, and all that. If we're doing things that require a lot of putting things together, creativity and all of that, multitasking may not work as well, right? We'll do things, we just won't get them all done as the way we like them, right? But also at leadership, because you're not the one executing, you are leading. You have to be able to multitask. I had that thought earlier today, and I said to myself, someone in leadership, executive position must be able to multitask. But the reason why they can do it effectively is exactly the fact that they have people they can delegate to finish the work, right? That's why I said I liked the last part, because then balanced it out. But we cannot, I know that we cannot, or there's certain roles and responsibilities that multitasking just will, you will do it. It just will not be as great, in some roles as you want it to be. But at leadership, of course, switching back to multitasking.
I'm glad you highlighted that.
Absolutely.
Yes, because I think that is key. What you just said is so key. Yeah. And you've almost thrown light into why, as one has gotten older, one has become more effective in getting things done.
Yep.
Because you are now at the leadership and you are delegating.
Absolutely.
So you can be taking decisions and then you have people who are carrying out.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
You're spot on. So that means you need to work on your leadership quotient.
Yep.
And get better and more effective at it, because that makes you more effective as a multitasker.
Absolutely. And so it's important to know where you are per time and know, how effective it is, at those different stages. Let me also just quickly share this question in the Q&A, and I'll come to that shortly. Let me just also share with everyone that some activities that have been proven to prevent cognitive decline include, of course, reading and writing, right? Because they help our memory and language skills. Puzzles, they improve our memory and reasoning. Somebody shared something recent. In fact, I think it was Elon Musk that said it, and I agree with him, that if you want to remember things or people more, connect them or connect the thing to something interesting to you or something memorable, right? And so I find that if I meet somebody and there's nothing interesting about, that gets my attention about the person, I'm most likely going to forget. Meanwhile, there are people that maybe they just did something, it just stuck in my consciousness. So if you want to improve your memory about things, connect it to something fascinating, something interesting to you and all that, right? Board games improve your communication and emotional regulation. I liked that particularly because in board games, you're trying to win and all of that, and you learn to manage your emotions in the process. Playing video games improve memory and reasoning. Card games improve reasoning, problem solving, memory, concentration. Physical activity, as we've said, also improves balance, strength, mood, overall health, and so on and so forth, right? And on that note, let me ask you one or two more questions. How does mood affect your intellect from your own experience? When you're in a good mood, you're in a bad mood, even though I'm not sure, you, Mrs. O, that I know, I don't think you're in a bad mood often, but anyway, how do you think mood affects?
I'm thinking about how I'm going to answer that question.